countdown to the last comic shop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Gobble, gobble! It is now time for more of the Last Comic Shop podcast here on Turkey Day! Woo!
Okay, that's great, but out of the kitchen, get out. I don't care that you can't open the shop because it's Thanksgiving. I'm cooking here. I've been on the Butterball hotline all morning. I've got the perfect cooking temperature. I know what I'm stuffing my bird with.
Listen to me. This is very important that you pay attention to me. Look me in the eyes. When it's in the turkey, it's stuffing. When it's outside of the turkey, it's dressing. Now get your ass in the kitchen.
Now, hold on, wait. Does that mean when you put it on the table, it's dressing?
Once it's out of the turkey, it's very important.
I thought dressing was like ranch.
Listen.
Ranch, Italian, French, maybe.
I've been brining all night. I've got a perfect basting sauce ready to go. I am cooking in here, and I don't need anyone with their grubby fingers.
Don't take the job if you can't do the job.
Well, one job that I'm really good at is being the host of the most. I'm Andy Larson, and welcome back to the Last Comic Shop this week. I'm joined by Chad Smith and J.A. Scott, who is busy cooking us our traditional Thanksgiving dinner here at the Last Comic Shop. He insisted, by the way, of doing it all by himself, although Mikey Wood said that he was willing to help. What's your favorite side dish or thing to prepare on Thanksgiving, Mikey?
Big fan of the green bean casserole.
Oh.
The old classic green bean casserole with the cream of mushroom soup and the onion crispies. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
French fried onions.
Yes.
I thought Thanksgiving was for foods you're thankful for. I'm not a Catholic.
You don't like the green bean casserole, Chad?
I prefer just green beans. Why you gotta mess with the green beans?
That's
They're
right.
delicious as is.
Why you gotta tart them up like that, right?
That's right.
I was not a fan of green bean casserole until I married somebody from the Midwest. Because they do that. They do all that stuff, all the casseroles out in Wisconsin and Minnesota. It's all the hot dishes. You got to bring a dish to pass. If you don't have it, you know what I never understood was putting the marshmallows on the yams. Like, I never got that part.
Yeah.
Like sweet potatoes with the marshmallows? Ew.
Like they're just not sweet enough? Like you need more? I don't know.
My big thing is the sweet potato v yam. Like, why is a sweet potato a potato when it's really not? It's just a yam, right? What's the difference?
Let me just tell you, yams and sweet potatoes are totally different things. Yams, essentially, some Louisiana farmer started calling all his sweet potatoes yams, and now everyone thinks yams are sweet potatoes. But yams are like yucca, and they come from Africa. And they're not sweet. They're not sweet, and they can be purple. Here in the Philippines, they're purple. I tried to make sweet potatoes out of them. Didn't work out so well.
Is this a bad time to mention rutabagas?
I think he's going to do that all show. He's just going to come in here, say 3 or 4 words, and then just leave. He didn't have time to read the book this week, which I'm kind of sad about because it was Mikey's pick. I thought that this would be a Thanksgiving treat to you, Mikey. What book are we reading this week?
This week we are reading a book called Dawn Runner by Ram V, who this year is kind of up there with Tom King as one of my favorite. Would you call them new writers? I mean, Tom King, would you call him new? Probably not by this point. But like Ram V is newer. He's been doing pro stuff for DC for a while. But this was Dawn Runner, 5-issue miniseries from Dark Horse.
Yeah. Just wrapped up recently and will be, I believe, out in trade in December. So, like, in case you've missed it in single issues, this will be a book that you can pick up in the next couple of weeks at your local comic book shop. So it's very timely. If you like this review so much, maybe you can go out, grab it as an early Christmas present for somebody that loves mechs. Because there's lots of mechs and anime, Robotech kind of stuff going on. I'll get to that in a second. But I thought because it is Thanksgiving that we would talk about comic books we are thankful for. Yes, on the Last Comic Shop, as you know, we like to bring folks into the comic book tent. And one of the biggest ways that I know of getting people excited about comic books is talking about the comic books that you're excited about. passion feeds passion. So when you are excited about a comic book or you're thankful for a comic book, I feel like that's the best way get other people excited. So hopefully this segment will not only fill you with excitement, but also fill us with nostalgia about things that now this doesn't have to be old books or new books. It can be whatever you're thankful for. Let's go ahead and start off with Chad. Chad, what are you thankful for this year when it comes to comic books?
I'm going to go with Meatball Batman. I mean, absolute Batman.
That is a Batman that only Red Barclay could finish. That's a big thing.
This Batman's a lot beefier than 150 pounds. So there's not a lot out there thus far. But you've got badass Alfred, like badass bearded Alfred, who's, got his cache of weaponry. You've got beefsteak Batman, who's got the dumbest looking costume I've ever seen. But the art by Nick Dragotta is beautiful. The Scott Snyder of it all is Scott Snydering to a T. And it's just the kickoff of the Absolute Universe has me excited about Batman, which I have not been in a long time. I don't know. It just looks so dumb. It has to be good. And the first issue did not disappoint. I'm all in on Meatball Batman.
All right, sounds good. Hey, by the way, Mikey, what was the other series in which Alfred was like a real badass, like a special agent guy?
Earth One, yeah, the Earth One, the trio of Earth One books. Yeah, it was really good. Gary Frank art, man. I love that Gary Frank.
I'm thankful that he continues to draw Geiger every month. I'm really still a huge fan of Geiger, and so Gary Frank can just draw that series till he dies. Like that would be fine by me. Mikey, what are some other things that you're thankful for?
Oh God, what am I thankful for? Well, I mean, let me get sentimental. I'm thankful for you, Mooks. I really am, for the two of you and for J.A. Very, very thankful. Thankful for this show. It gives me an excuse to talk, because my wife doesn't talk to me about this stuff. There's a lot of things going on that are really interesting. They're kind of like I'm really thankful for the Robin Lives book that's out that J.M. DeMatteis is writing. Because it's something that I always wondered about. What it is it's the sort of alternate reality where what if the bloodthirsty fans didn't call for Jason Todd's head back in 1980, whatever it was, in 1990, whatever it was, and Robin survived at the end of it. What would have happened after that? And it's been kind of interesting, and I like that. If I had to narrow it down, I'm really happy. And this is going to sound weird, but I'm really, really thankful for facsimile editions, the Superman Wonder Woman Treasury edition and the Superman Muhammad Ali. These are things that I missed out on or had at some point and have since disappeared that are being re-released at like 5 times the price, but that's neither here nor there. They just put out a facsimile edition of Detective Comics 27 that is the actual Golden Age size, and all the pages inside are like yellowed and things like that. And it's just awesome. It's just fun. It gives me a chance to have these books that I don't want to play. Those Treasury editions in decent shape are quite a penny, really. I believe. Yeah. But but I mean, I like those. I like those facsimile editions. I like having the proto Swamp Thing and like the first Justice Society and shit like that. I think they're just wonderful little bits. And like when you get like Action Comics #1, you get this Superman story that's only 8 pages of a 60-some page book. You get all of the other stuff too, all of the Slam Bradley and the Western stuff, and you get all of that. And they're basically just everything that the ads are all the ads that would have run at the time. The only difference is it's got a modern price tag on it. That's it.
That barcode.
In the barcode, if it's on the front of the book, that really pisses me off. But yeah. I mean, they're just wonderful little things. It's a weird thing to be thankful for, but I really am. I just adore them. I don't know why.
Well, I think I'll stay on the Batman tip with a couple of things that I'm really, really thankful for. First and foremost, I do want to say thanks to all those folks that made Batman the Caped Crusader this year. That Amazon Prime show was just absolutely excellent. Every single episode was picture perfect, and they assembled a real dream team. And really, I think that the nicest thing about it was set in that 1930s, 1940s Gotham City, which was, it was always kind of weird to me how, like, in the Paul Dini, Bruce Timm series, it kind of seemed like it had a 1930s aesthetic, but they had computers and stuff. It was cool, and I was just like, why do they have blimps? Like, nobody goes around in Zeppelins anymore. But, like, to have it actually in the 1930s or 40s, like, this actually fit what is this kind of a super cool period for Batman. And it allowed them to tell some really interesting stories. So I'm very grateful for that. Another great thing that I'm grateful for, recently they re-released in hardback Batman the Cult by Jim Starlin with Bernie Wrightson art. Anytime you can get Bernie Wrightson art, you should just be thankful for that in general, because he was an awesome artist that has unfortunately passed away, so we're not going to get any new Bernie Wrightson, which is very sad, but like it's always great to look at old Bernie Wrightson. And so this was a story that I didn't really know a lot about until they re-released it, and I was like, oh geez, this looks awesome, I'll read that. But the last thing I think I want to be thankful for, I think, is on a tip with that Mikey brought up, which is facsimiles or recreations of things. And I'm really thankful for the fact that Taishan, who has put out these awesome giant-sized reprintings of Marvel books recently, beautiful things with beautiful coloring and all the ads and everything like that. They're re-releasing The Amazing Spider-Man and The Avengers in kind of a more digestible format, like a smaller hardback version. I think it's going to be 8x12. If they're not already out now, they'll be coming out by the end of December. So I think they're really good Christmas gifts for those folks that don't have them already in omnibuses or other Marvel Masterworks or something, because you get all the ads. And Taishan just does a great job with any book. So even if it's smaller, it's awesome at a smaller price tag too. I think they're only going to be like $80. Now Chad disagrees with me. He says,
I do.
The bigger the betters.
Yeah, so this ties into both of your things. So Taishan released those two Amazing Spider-Man books thus far. They are, what are the dimensions, Andy? 24 inches?
Oh, at least.
They're ginormous, and they're $200, so they are a pretty penny. Even shopping for discounts and sales and stuff, they're still they cost quite a bit, but they are worth their weight in gold. And so I love things embiggened. And going back to Mikey's thing about the facsimiles, initially the facsimiles, I'll be 1,000% honest, they kind of bugged me, because I'm like, these should be like the dollar giveaway. These should be like the Marvel Tales, but they're charging full price for a modern comic for those things. But then they turned around and brought out the treasuries. And they're like, yeah, we're going to charge you $15 to $20 for a treasury. But oh my goodness, those treasury, they're so beautiful. And it's the difference of having those things embiggened. Oh, it's so glorious. And I love me a classic treasury, but for me to pick up Muhammad Ali versus Superman and have white pages, like crisp white pages, my copies don't have that. But those books are so beautiful and so fun, and that size. I know recently we've gotten a handful of like Marvel books have come out in that treasury format. But like the more of that stuff we can get, the more I'm for it. I went from being like, facsimiles, to be like, oh, facsimiles, all right.
Yes. But I agree.
Curious, so there's one thing that it's happened with the facsimiles. It happened with Meatball Batman. I don't know if it happened with the cult. But how do you guys feel about the foil cover?
The foil cover?
DC in particular, although Marvel has partaken as well in all these image books, they're releasing your standard release, and then for $2 or $3 more, you get the foil cover. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I wondered if that was a new thing, because I just got like a random issue of Helen of Windhorn. It's beautiful, and I haven't read it yet because I'm waiting to build up. But like the fourth issue was a foil cover. It had like a foil embossed.
Yeah, cover. Not all of them, because I saw those as well. I thought, oh, this is a new issue, and it wasn't. It was the same one that I had.
Yeah. It's a gimmick. Comic books are always going to have gimmicks. You're the gimmick guy, Chad. I have never been a huge fan for gimmick covers, honestly. I'd rather just have a cover that has really cool art. Like I would jump at a variant that is super cool. I know just last month there was a whole series of Doom covers that Marvel put out, and oh my gosh, was I thankful for that, especially the Fantastic Four one. Oh man, I think what was that, Ben Harvey I think he did that cover.
The Doom Victorious.
Yes, where he's just like grabbing Reed Richards by the throat, and there's all these Doom bots behind. It was just glorious. Just glorious stuff. But hey, J.A., what are you thankful for? Come back in here. Tell us what you're thankful for.
I'm not thankful for this stupid little plastic thermometer that refuses to pop out, even though I know that bird is cooked and now it's just getting dry inside. I will tell you what I'm really thankful for is that Marvel is finally coming around on the old Chrome Dome, the Silver Surfer. They're finally putting out proper Silver Surfer omnibuses. Yes, we had the original Stan Lee and John Buscema Marvel run of Silver Surfer, but I mean, he was stuck on Earth for most of that, or he had to go to some dreamscape. And they've had that horrible, I mean, wonderful, Chad, wonderful Dan Slott, Mike Allred, Laura Allred Silver Surfer omnibus. But now we're finally getting a true Silver Surfer omnibus in 2025. That's right. This is proper Silver Surfer. I'm talking the 1987 Volume 3. Kicks off with Steve Englehart and Marshall Rogers, but very, very soon, 15 issues in, you get Ron Lim, who then just anchored that book through to issue 87. And I'm hoping Volume 1 sells so well that they put out Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, and take the entire thing, issue 1 to issue 146. So who knows? I might be getting Silver Surfer Omnibuy from here to the very long foreseeable future. And I'm also thankful for Stanley Art Germ Lau and his beautiful covers, Peach Momoko and her fun sense of whimsy and Japanese manga-influenced art and culture, and the fact that I get to talk to you guys every week about comic books, as long as you stay out of that damn kitchen, Chad! Get your paws out of that turkey!
Whoa! Somebody's got his giblets in a bag.
All right. Well, we'll be right back with more of The Last Comic Shop right after these commercial breaks. Stay tuned for our review of Dawn Runner by Ram V and Evan Cagle right after these commercial breaks.
Where else do you keep your giblets?
BCWSupplies.com has everything a comic collector could need. Boards, bags, long boxes, and so much else for our ever so increasing collections. And you can save 10% on your total order by using promo code LCSPOD at checkout. Not only does this take 10% off BCW Supplies' already low prices, but it supports my favorite podcast, The Last Comic Shop. So get all your collecting gear at bcwsupplies.com and save 10% on your order with promo code LCSPOD at checkout. That's LCSPOD at checkout. Happy hunting!
If you're an indie creator looking for a home for your comic book, graphic novel, short story collection, or novel, then you've come to the right place. Any One World is a full-service publisher and distributor which can take your creator-owned project and showcase it to the world. We offer two primary distribution channels: digital distribution, where we'll sell your book in our digital bookstore; digital and print distribution, where we'll sell your book in our digital bookstore and distribute through physical bookstores across the UK, USA, and Canada. In addition to distribution, Any One World can also work with you to publish your book. We'll publish your book digitally, helping you source artists, edit, format, and publish your book in digital format. Digital and print. We'll publish your book digitally and produce and distribute print copies of your work. Digital, print, and merch. We'll publish digital and print copies of your book and then work with you to design or distribute products and add-ons such as t-shirts, posters, and more. On top of all of this, we can offer additional paid services where required, specifically cover design, editing, and formatting. Unlike many traditional publishers, Any One World gives indie creators maximum control and flexibility over publishing and distribution. So if you're looking to partner with us to distribute existing books or publish something new, read carefully through the information below and fill out a submission form.
All right, we're back with more of The Last Comic Shop, and it is now time for our Read Pile Review. Yes, where it's a feast of comic book talk on this particular episode as we are about to tuck in to a really, really great piece of turkey. I don't know if it's turkey or not. It's definitely savory. It is Dawn Runner 5 issues came out earlier this year, coming out in trade very soon if you want to pick it up. But Chad, who worked on this particular piece of poultry?
I was going to say, how does one cook kaiju?
I would say at a low heat, maybe a smoker. Like, I think you have to smoke your kaiju.
Big smoker, big.
So the participants in this Dawn Runner included scripts by Ram V and art by Evan Cagle, as we mentioned earlier. There were colors by Dave Stewart, who's colored so many great comics out there. Letters by, and I'm going to apologize in advance, Aditya Bidikar. And like we said, this is a 5-issue series, came out of Dark Horse starting in March. And
and we're going to go to Mikey Wood to give us a 10-cent synopsis for what happens in these particular 5 issues. So lay it on us, that thin dime that you love to give us, Mikey.
Yes, because I like people to be able to kind of read them. It's a ghost story set in an environment of robots fighting giant monsters. It is really what it is. It's according to Dark Horse, it is a story of heroes, impossible armors, ghosts, and 2 people centuries apart, connected by their need to protect the ones they love. It's kind of like everything that I really like rolled up into one little comic that I actually wish was longer than 5 issues. Like, I wish it just kept going. It's really, and you know me, I like to give you guys sort of challenging things and things that are dense and take time to, or things like Torpedo that are just violent and.
This is a little bit of both. It's complex. There's violence here. And definitely Chad and I didn't have this book on our radar, right, Chad? Like I said, we're going to read Dawn Runner this week. And you were like, what?
Yeah.
This totally escaped me. I had no idea this was a thing.
I will say, as I paged through this book, I can't agree with Mikey that I thought it should have been a little bit longer. That'll be my initial thought, just simply because, boy, howdy, do they take some pains of developing a pretty cool world for us to live in for 5 issues, and you kind of feel like it's a little bit rushed as a result of that. I could easily have seen this being a 12-issue arc, or even like 24 issues. You could spend a little bit of time in this universe, but I will say, for those people that miss this universe and just want more of it, go and check out Evangelion, which is the anime that pretty much this book is. If you've ever watched that particular anime, which is one of my brother Ethan's favorites, it starts off with a very similar premise in which basically they build this super new mech that's never been tried or tested before. They put a pilot in there. This pilot blacks out because they're connecting with the mech in such a way that they go absolutely ape crazy on this kaiju and end up killing it in awesome ways that nobody ever experienced. But initially it's beat up because it doesn't know how to connect. Yeah. If Ram V didn't watch Evangelion or was a fan of that show, I will eat my hat. At least the mech kaiju part is pretty much play off of that particular premise. Yeah. So, but then from there, it plays with some other things, and I'll let other folks fill in the gaps. Chad, Mikey said it was a ghost story. Do you think this is a ghost story?
Well, definitely. I mean, I thought it was interesting, the merging of the kaiju pilot with the spirit of the Dawn Runner. I really did enjoy that subplot as those two, are coming together and forming. This was definitely different for me in a couple of regards. One, it had a very European feel. I don't know if Evan Cagle is Metal Hurlant guy.
Heavy metal.
The only thing I saw of him previously that I was aware of was he did that Superman Authority book that just came out a wee bit ago, a couple years ago, last year or something like that.
The War World stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did that, and a couple of issues, or at least one issue of Catwoman that I know of. But beautiful. So.
Yeah, and to go back to, because I don't have the anime bona fides that Andy has, the art initially reminded me a lot of the Eon Flux cartoon from MTV back in the day. Yeah, I was picking up heavy Eon Flux vibes. It is super hyper detailed to the point where sometimes. And I enjoyed the anime style mech kaiju violence, But sometimes I thought it might have been too detailed. I was having a hard time following some of the fight scenes and stuff because of all the line work everywhere. And it's like, oh man, this guy needs to learn a little bit from Rob Liefeld and take out some of those backgrounds.
Yeah.
They're working too hard. And I don't know if I was crazy about the mech designs. And it was nice to see them doing something different than mech that you're not getting out of your standard, Gundam suits or any of that kind of stuff. But at the same time, the mechs in this, 100 years later or centuries later, they look too weebly wobbly to me. But the story itself, I thought the story was cool. I had not experienced Evangelion, so the whole person becoming one with their suit, becoming one with the person whose brains make the suit. Like, I thought that part was really cool. But like I said, there were just some parts where it's like, oh, it's close, but I don't know if it's hitting all the parts I want it to hit. I don't know. Mikey, where are you on this guy?
My knowledge of Ram V's work started with a book that he did called Blue in Green, which is sort of like a jazz Cthulhu story. Like, it's really, really cool. And the artwork was gorgeous. And that was from like 2020. And I started reading that and I just loved it. And then I picked it. Then he did a run of Swamp Thing, which was phenomenal. Then he did Aquaman and Andromeda. And then I went back and grabbed these Savage Shores, and he did The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. And his run of Detective Comics that just wrapped up is freaking it's incredible. Like, he's just so anything that his name is on, I will buy. So I saw the ad for Dawn Runner, and it looked pretty, and I picked it up, and I was like reading it in the beginning, and I was like, oh, hey, this is just like a fun, the kaiju fighting robots thing is a trope. And it's a fun trope, and you've got Godzilla, and you've got everything from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to Ultraman to all that stuff. So I was reading this, I was like, okay, this is Pacific Rim. It's basically Pacific Rim, and then bam, and then all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, what just happened? And it just grabbed me. So it takes a well-known subject matter and adds this really, really cool twist on it. And whereas I don't think the fight scenes were the important part, I did find myself looking back at them a second time just to kind of see what was going on. But that's because the Dawn Runner armor's design was so stylized and very thicks and thins and things like that. And we mentioned we would have liked to have seen it more. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more about the creatures and all that. But I don't think that was really the important part of it, though. Oh. I think the important part was really the story of the brain that's running so the idea is that the pilot of this, she doesn't drive it like in your standard Robotech kind of stuff. It's kind of controlled by her mind, and this one had a
She's
mind.
She's a bacta tank from Star Wars.
Yeah, and then this one actually has the whole idea is that they implanted this one with a human mind. And they start to merge and communicate, and it ends up being quite beautiful. Actually, it's horrific in a lot of things, lots of tentacles and things.
Right.
But it becomes quite beautiful, quite a lovely story about sacrifice and love and what you would do for your children, and it's just really, really wonderful.
Yeah. So. Well, I did want to kind of piggyback on some of the things you said in terms of like not really knowing much about the monsters, and really did the monsters really serve a point. I'll be very blunt. I thought the end of the book was kind of a cop-out when, not to spoil much, but like Big Boss Mama Kaiju comes down from outer space, Dawn Runner hands its ass, and then it's like, oh, by the way, they were just here to help us learn how to be better people. And I was just like, no, that's not really how this works. Like, I was like, that's not fulfilling in any ways. And so at that point, I actually had to read this twice, because the first time through it, I wasn't sure whether I liked it. Again, this was my brother Ethan loves Evangelion. I've watched that show, and I was like, this is just Evangelion, from the way that the mech pilot runs the ship to the only thing that's different about this is the whole notion of connecting with some dead soldier that's actually now the consciousness of Dawn Runner, and that kind of merging. And so I was just like, that's kind of the interesting part of this story. So actually what I did was, the second time through, I focused only on that story. And as a result of that, I found the book a lot more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say this point blank to those folks that may know a lot about anime, know a lot about Evangelion. If you're reading this book, I feel like you're going to be in the same boat as me, where the first time through, you're just going to think like, oh, geez, Ram V is just taking these ideas I've already seen, and I don't know what he's doing with them, but these are things I've seen before. Cut that stuff out. Cut out the kaiju fight. Cut out Dawn Runner. Just focus on two people from different times connecting with each other. Connect on that ghost story part, because I think that's actually where all the heart is. I think that's where all the meaningful dialogue exists. I think, this past soldier trying to save his kids and she's trying to save her kid in the future. Like, that's the stuff that really counts. All the battling stuff that happens out, I tuned out after a while.
I will say, because Mikey had mentioned the monsters fighting mechs. That's kind of a trope. The big evil corporate boss, like, oh, we're gonna do this for entertainment value. Like, that's a trope. I like Mojo. You have Ron V takes a bunch of these different tropes, but the way he weaves them together, I thought, was worthwhile. And to go back to the thread of wanting it to be longer, I think that this was. Don't let Jay get any ideas. I thought this was overcooked. The world was overbuilt. They tried to do too many things, and then by the time they do get to the payoffs, it's like, well, that was way too fast. Like, it doesn't feel earned whenever you get to the end of the story. And so I do think that it could have been, at least a 12-issue arc to give you time to see those characters bonding and experiencing each other's families. Like, the daughter's sick, and then all of a sudden she's cured. The kaiju, oh wait, no, they were here to help. Like, just everything turns way too quickly, and it feels like they spent so much time like building things up and putting so much detail in it that it didn't match up. There's an incongruity there where they had so many different things they were playing with, and I thought they were doing a good job of interweaving all the different parts, but there's something. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was the quick ending or what.
I kind of wondered, and I haven't really asked. I follow Rom V on Twitter, and occasionally I'll post, and he answers things, which is really cool. I wonder if it got cut. Like, I wonder if there was supposed to be more, and they cut it, but I'm not really sure there. I think it ends openly, and like there can be more. So maybe there could be another one, and I don't know how it sold or if it did. I know a lot of people didn't know about it, you know. But it just was an impressive package. And when I read comics like this, it makes me want to look up more from the artist and things like that, because it's just beautiful. So
yeah, I do want to comment that I really did like the art a lot. It had a very Mobius kind of style to it, and I'm glad that Chad brought that up. Again, to Chad's point, I think it was, you got to see one monster, right? They had one fight, and then by like the next issue, they're already bringing in the boss, and you're just like, no, that's not how this works. Like, and you have to have 2 or 3 more fights with them learning how, like, oh, we're a team now, like it just seemed rushed.
Her ice band just gets off. They build all that up, like, oh, I'm gonna get more kills. And like, oh, let's go together. Like, oh no, he's dead now.
Exactly. Maybe that is a good question that you should ask Rom V, Mikey. Since you're a pally with him, you should ask him.
Well, I don't know about that. But,
well, what else would you put in this world they built? Dawn Runner 2.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, if there was going to be a Dawn Runner 2, Mikey, what would you like to see? Do you think this story should continue, or do you feel like it would cheapen this particular tale?
I don't know. Like, I did sit and wonder about where they would go afterwards, and it would be really interesting to see them play a bit with that sort of like the Positronic Man by Asimov or Bicentennial Man, like that. Because Dawn Runner, is, by the end of it, it's evolved a little bit, and to see what happens, to see maybe if it earns a consciousness, and if it becomes sentient and what it means to be human and what it means to be alive and all those other things. Like, what if they start to actually play off of these lessons that were supposedly brought from the stars or whatever? Like I just kind of did wonder what they could do with it afterwards and just have it become a little more metaphysical and something, almost like RoboCop. Not really, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, where does the machine end and the man begin, and what makes something alive and what makes, that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I could totally agree with that, Mikey. One of the things that was powerful at the end, where they were saying that these things came through to jumpstart us to the next point of evolution, and you kind of mentioned Isaac Asimov. There's a great other book called Childhood End by Arthur C. Clarke, where like these aliens come down, and the whole point is to make us ready to go out into outer space and become one with the universe or one with the cosmos. I think that's the next step. Like, you just throw them through the portal, and where does that portal lead? Now that we have evolved, like, it's now time to leave the house. We have grown out of the cave. It's time to walk around outside and see where this takes us next. And what will we meet out there? Are these creatures truly what we thought? Were they benevolent, or are they really terrible and I don't know, we have to fight them some more? Chad, what's your final thoughts?
I was going to say, yeah, all that stuff is good. But we lucked out because Dawn Runner was a good guy. That's the guy always going to sacrifice for his family and everything. I want to see one of those Dawn Runners with a guy that's a real jerkwad. But what happened with that? And you go out and go with your high-flying scientific exploration and man of evolutionizing, blah, blah. No, give me the bad guy. Instead of a lightsaber, it'd be more Mikey and Bernie. They'd go around, and you've got all these kaiju and robot mechs, and they're slashing each other and cutting off heads and then regrowing heads, and then they're slashing them again, and they're out in space. And then there's laser ships coming, and then Yoshimi from that one song comes down and starts fighting all the giant robots and the kaiju and everything else. And then this one dude, Evan Cagle's just drawing it all with super detailed art everywhere. And there's so many things in the background, and it's like Jeff Darrow reincarnated, although I think Jeff Darrow is still around, and it would be awesome.
Oh, well, that's a good way to end this segment. We'll be right back with more Last Comic Shop right after this with our ratings of Dawn Runner in addition to recommendations. Stay tuned for that.
It's like a lightsaber, but it's made out of meat.
Yeah, meat saber.
Does Batman have one of those?
That's right.
LastComicShopPodcast.com is the destination for all things shop. Plan your week with upcoming show schedules, the latest books, recommendations, and chatter from the crew. Subscribe to the show on all major podcasting platforms from one convenient location. Show your support and browse the merch store. T-shirts, tanks, hoodies for the fam, coffee mugs, magnets, totes, and more. Check out exclusive content through the show's YouTube channel and follow the pod on Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and others. All this and so much more at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com. www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com.
When you're done listening to this podcast, check out mine. My name is Dave, and I'm the host of Beer in Front. My podcast is just enjoying the beer that's in front of you. Sometimes we forget about a classic beer while we focus on the new trendy thing. What I try to do each week is to enjoy an old school classic or have a beer that has potential to be a classic. I'll also talk about events of the day, I'll add my spin to things, and each week there are people that really annoy me, and I'll call them out as the jag-off of the week. That's Beer in Front, available wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, we're back with more of The Last Comic Shop, and it is now time for ratings, where we don't make you debate whether it's stuffing or dressing. You can have both. You can also have mashed potatoes and the yams with the marshmallows on top. Some people even dump like syrup on that too. So it's like yams and then marshmallows and then syrup and then like whipped cream.
Have a side order of diabetes. Yes.
In case. One thing that we're going to have a side order of is our 1 out of 4 scale. J.A., do you want to do the 1 out of 4 scale?
1 out of 4 scale? How about I give you 1 out of 4 thermometers popping out of this turkey thigh? Leave me alone, I'm basting.
Just relax, buddy. All right, we'll do Stomped Kaiju.
Ooh.
However many
Awesome.
Kaiju we have.
Stomp a mud hole in that kaiju. Walk it dry. All right, Mikey, it was your pick this week, so let's go ahead and start off with you. How many stomped kaijus?
Oh Lord, I really like this. But I'm going to say 3.5, just because I think it ended quicker than I would have liked to. It was so close to a 4. I really enjoy it. I think it was very well told. I think it was very well drawn. I like Ram V, man. I like his writing. I like the cut of his jib, as they say. So.
All right. Well, I'll go next. I'm going to give it a little bit lower than that. I'm going to give it a 2.5, actually. This is a little bit better average than book, and I think that's primarily because of the art. I really do think that Evan Cagle is an awesome artist, and I hope to see more of his stuff in future, especially if he does more of this, to Chad's point, this kind of heavy metal kind of jazz. I can dig that. I'd like to see him on that as opposed to superhero books, because the Superman War World stuff, I thought he was great on that. But like I think he's in a wheelhouse here with this sci-fi stuff. So Evan, keep doing this stuff. It's awesome. But in terms of the particular story, it's like when I read the Many Deaths of Lila Starr, right? There's something about some of Ram V's works that, and maybe it's because I have a small sample size, but it's always like something that Ram V kind of sort of based his story around that's slightly better. Like, I remember at the time when I read Many Deaths of Lila Starr, I thought it was kind of like, hey, this is a play on Day Tripper. And Day Tripper was a little bit better. And then you've got this book, and I'm like, this is Evangelion. And not to say that Evangelion is the bee's knees, but a lot of people like it. And I'm not saying that this didn't have an awesome subplot with the ghost of Dawn Runner and the mech driver merging. That was cool. But everything else was just there. Like, it was like background stuff that Ram V had to put in to tell the rest of his story. And I thought that was kind of not so great. And so it's a 2.5. Just a quick read, though. And if you do like mechs and kaiju, there's kind of some cool fights once in a while. But yeah, the emotional beats are with the ghost story. That's much better. Chad.
This is a tough one because I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle of you guys, because I did love the art, but also at the same time that it was a little bit flawed for me, just because there's some points where it was so detailed it lacked clarity. The story, I thought there were a lot of tropes in there, but there were a lot of really cool tropes. Like, there's lots of really fun stuff that they're playing with in this universe. I really enjoyed all the ingredients of this book. So much of it was, just stuff that's fun. It's fun to watch. It's fun to explore. It's fun to swim around in this world. And it was such a well built out world. You hate to think something too much, because your big complaint is, I wish we had more time to spend it in. I wish they would have expanded that out. But with that said, you're talking about your complaints with Ram V. For me, it's always, there's that one thing that's just a little bit off. I can see, Mikey, how you're a big Ram V fan. I can see for the folks where this is connecting. But for me, there's always just that one thing, whether it was the too quick ending or, some of the plot lines coming together in ways where I'm like, oh, that was just too easy. But I really did enjoy it. So I'm so conflicted on this one. 2.5 and 3.5, then that makes my math easy. I'm going to go right in between. I'm going to say it's a 3. It has tons of potential. Not all of it is realized, but I feel like if they kept working at it, I could see this team producing something that is super special. It's not this yet. This is either overcooked or not done cooking. I don't know. I'm not a chef, but they're so close. It's not. Yeah.
Can you tell I like wordy books? Like, I really like wordy comics. I really do
like wordy books. That's why it's amazing that you don't like more Bronze Age and Silver Age, because they're wordy as hell.
Yeah, but they're also goofy as shit. So there's a difference. Some of them I do enjoy, though. But
And Mikey, your tastes are more sophisticated. This felt like that girl from college that wore berets and smoked clove cigarettes. Like,
I loved
you
her.
know, what was just a little bit exotic, and it's like, oh, you're way too cool for me. And then you think about it, you're like, oh, you'd never go for all the dumb stuff I like. And then it's like, wait a minute, the stuff you like is dumb too, but it's dumb and cool. But that's what this feels like. It's that girl. It's like,
Yeah.
too cool for me.
Yeah,
Well,
it was like it felt very Vertigo. It felt very Vertigo, and that I like books that sort of feel that way too. Yeah, but I like goofy stuff too.
Any case, well, one thing that we hope you love is some of our recommendations. Yes, it is that time of every single show where we give you other comic books in addition to Dawn Runner, which you can maybe find still in single issues at your local comic book shop, or wait till next month when it rolls out in trade. So either way you slice it, if you're a fan of what we just talked about, you should pick it up in addition to some of these other books. Because again, Christmas is right around the corner. Some of these might be good Christmas gifts for your pals. We're going to start off with Chad Smith, and what recommendation you have for us this week?
So I'm going to go with a series that is still ongoing, but it's like the third chapter. It's Ultraman versus the Avengers. And it's the classic, Ultraman characters teaming up with your favorite Marvel characters. They've actually, Marvel has just gotten the Ultraman license a few years back, and there's been, I want to say, 2 miniseries, maybe 3. There was the Mystery of the Ultra 7, but they're just big, fun, kaiju fighting, giant Ultraman, weirdo, begeardo, just good times. If that's a thing you're into, if you're like, I like some of the silliness, but this is a little too sophisticated for me, may I recommend Ultraman, particularly the book that's out now with him versus the Avengers.
I do want to ask, Chad, it seems like you really do love Ultraman. Like, you seem to pick up comic books just based on the fact that Ultraman... Did you like Ultraman as a kid? Like, where did the Ultraman love come from?
I've watched bits of the show since then, but, like, as a kid, I only remember ever seeing just, like, little small clips. Of, like him picking up a giant rubber monster and throwing him into a rock or something. Or, doing his little T-blast. Like, but nothing substantial. I just thought it looked cool, and it's cheesy and silly and fun. And what else do you want out of life?
That's fine by me, buddy. All right, Mikey, what do you got for us this week in recommendations?
No, actually, you know what? I'm gonna go with, and I don't know if I've actually recommended this before, and if I have, I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself. But I am going to go with Titan Comics Blade Runner books. Titan has been putting out comics based on the film Blade Runner for quite a bit now, and they kind of run in 12-issue arcs. There's a prequel called Blade Runner Origins that is sort of like the beginnings of the whole Nexus 6 kind of, or Nexus, more like the Nexus 5. And then there's Blade Runner 2019 and Blade Runner 2039. And they just expand on that world a whole lot. And I'm a big fan of Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049. And, there's right now they're on their, I want to say, 4th volume essentially, and it's called Tokyo Nexus. It's kind of a series of mini-series, sort of like the way that they did Hellboy, I guess, but they're 12-issue arcs each. So it's just really, really, really well done. Titan is a really great company. That, like, their Doctor Who books are really good and things like that. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right that Titan is pretty awesome as a comic book company. I think one of my favorite sub-imprints, Hard Case Crime Comics, is actually a part of Titan. I've talked about those all the time, man. We're going to... Some other things that I'm enjoying and very, very thankful for is anything that comes out of the creative mind of Jendy Tartakovsky. And I hope I just didn't butcher that name, but... Just saying the word Tartakovsky hopefully fills everybody out there that grew up as a teenager in the 90s and into the early 2000s with just feelings of awesomeness. From Samurai Jack to his awesome Clone Wars series, which just keeps getting better and better with age. It's just amazing how that series was just so groundbreaking at the time and just continues to be great. And Primal that came out last year. But in terms of not just the animation that he's put out, I've enjoyed some of his comic books. And one awesome comic book that I can recommend that you pick up for anybody that just loves awesome comics is his run on Cage. That's right. It's only 4 issues, but it's so good. It takes all of that awesome 70s styling of the classic Luke Cage Power Man and basically strips it down to what makes that period of time so super cool. Like, you got Cage beating up on robbers on roller skates. He then goes to a Chinese restaurant. He then gets kidnapped and taken to an island where he has to fight like a tiger man and a lion dude. And then he gets to team up with Misty Knight and Iron Fist and a lot of other awesome characters from the 70s like Dazzler. It's just a great tour de force for anybody that really loves Bronze Age comic books, but also loves Tartakovsky's incredibly kinetic, over-the-top style. Like, you're just going to love Cage. And honestly, it takes you about a half hour to read because there's not a lot of words and you don't need it. You just need to fall in love with those action scenes and those action set pieces. He brings that to the fore. It's great stuff. You guys love that, right?
I would trade the entire MCU for Bronze Age tales in that style. That was all I was thinking whenever that book came out. I was like, this should have been a cartoon. I should be able to watch Luke Cage for 25 minutes every week. Like, just kicking butt, busting out the Sweet Christmas, and it's glorious. But to have the whole MCU like that, I would love it.
All right. Well, one other thing I want to make sure that you're checking out in terms of recommendations is we brought it up earlier. Taishan puts out some awesome books, and every year around the end of the year, post-Christmas, they usually have a clearance sale where some of those large, oversized Fantastic Four, Avengers, X-Men, they go on sale half off. They're only $100 sometimes. Make sure that if you haven't picked them up yet, keep an eye out on Taishan.com. You might find them. And they have an awesome Little Nemo book, which, again, usually goes on sale for like $50, which is totally worth the $50. Hey, J.A., what do you have for recommendations this week?
All right, boys. I've just got the turkey out of the oven. It's got to sit for about half an hour, and then I'm into carving. So I got a little bit of time, and I'm going to give you my recommendation. Now, last week we did the death of Gwen Stacy, and in the run-up to that show, we had voted on what we should talk about. One of the stories I had recommended is Armor Wars, the Iron Man story arc by David Michelini and Bob Layton, with art by Mark DeBrite and Barry Windsor Smith, one of my favorites. This first appeared in Iron Man 225 to 232, and essentially, Iron Man finds out that all of these armored bad guys have a copyright version of his software that somebody stole. So, unlike modern day technological robber barons, he actually has a heart, and he's worried that people are using his technology for evil. So he goes after all these armored guys and ends up fighting them all in various ways, or convincing them to give them back his armor so that he can deactivate the Stark software and Stark tech that is involved in their armor. Some great bad guys and, some great Iron Man fighting. He's in his Silver Centurion armor as well. So it's just some really classic late 80s Iron Man.
I think Justin Hammer is the big bad guy in that.
Yeah. Justin Hammer's the big bad. And it was actually originally called Stark Wars. But now you can get it in the trade as Armor Wars. Everyone knows it as Armor Wars. And they even had a follow-up in the 90s because everything in the 90s was just a repeat of the 80s with Armor Wars 2.
I have a couple issues of those with John Romita Jr. art, and he fights Fing Fang Foom, which is just cool because John Romita Jr. draws Fing Fang Foom. That's cool. Yeah, we might have to do that one in 2025 for sure. And thank you so much for making that turkey dinner for all of us here at the Last Comic Shop. Make sure that you're not a turkey by making sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to our show so you never miss any episodes of the Last Comic Shop for the rest of this year and our 5th season right around the corner. Next week we start DC Ember, where we'll have Mikey Wood back for, I think it's the Justice Society of America, the Golden Age, to kick things off. And even in fact, next week we're going to vote on what Tom King book we should review later on in December. So if you like our tournaments, make sure that you're subscribing so that you don't miss next week's show.
Yeah, stuff at WWE with your King of the Ring. We've got King of the Kings.
That's right, King of the Kings.
Mikey, we get discounts for folks. How do we do that again? Do you remember?
Yeah, we do. You'll get 10% off any of your comic book protective materials, such as bags and boards and boxes, all the big Bs, the 3 Bs that you need to protect your comics at bcwsupplies.com. And you want to use the code LCSPOD. That is LCSPOD. And that will get you your 10% off at bcwsupplies.com.
All right. Make sure you head to www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, where you can find all our great shows. Our recommendations for this week included Ultraman versus the Avengers, which is wrapping up here soon. Blade Runner from Titan Cage, and whatever Jay recommended, I didn't hear over all the yelling.
No. I just put the turkey on the table. I can do the merch store. Just head over there if you want t-shirts, coffee mugs, tote bags, this week aprons, so that next year when you're doing the turkey, you've got an apron with our logo. You won't get turkey juice all over everything when you're basting. That's right.
All right. Until next week, I was the host with most, Andy Larson. I was joined by Jay Scott, Chad Smith, and the wonderful Mikey Wood. We hope that you are thankful for your family and friends this holiday season. Stay safe, stay stuffed, and remember that if you're addicted to Thanksgiving leftovers, just quit cold turkey. That's all you need to do.
Wow.
No, that's it. No drumsticks for you.
The Last Comic Shop podcast was a 2024 Black Angus production.